Despite all the passion of big football, the outcome of the most heated rivalries is pretty much determined by money. Money is what distinguishes big clubs from small, dictating their transfer policies and development strategies. The difference it all makes is at times enormous, as one successful season may be enough to make a team's market value rocket. Today we would like to delve into the economy of football and have a closer look at the teams whose market value has increased the most since the beginning of the last season, as we try to determine the reasons for their improvement. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss our next videos. But first, we would like you to answer our question. Which one of these English clubs managed to increase its market value by 672% in the last 2 years? Brentford, Newcastle, Nottingham, Bournemouth. Please leave your answers in the comments and get ready for watching. Bayern, from 846,530,000 to 939,500,000 euros. Difference 92,970,000. It has been a rough season for Bayern, as they were extremely close to losing the Bundesliga to Borussia Dortmund and only managed to clinch the title because of BVB's poor result on the final match day. Last summer, Bayern had to let their leading scorer Robert Lewandowski leave, so their number one priority for that transfer window was finding a replacement for the Pole. Bayern put their trust in Sadio Mane from Liverpool, who ended up being a massive disappointment, while they also brought in the young striker Mathys Tel from Rennes, who scored 5 goals in the Bundesliga. Apart from the new attackers, Bayern signed Matthijs de Ligt and the 2 Ajax players, Nusair Mazraoui and Ryan Gravenberch. Nagelsmann's experiments were at times causing problems in the Bundesliga, though Bayern were still ahead of their rivals, while they also finished first in their Champions League group ahead of Inter and Barcelona. After the World Cup break, things suddenly got worse as Mane was out injured and Bayern had 3 consecutive draws in the league. Later, however, they beat PSG 3-0 on aggregate, and then all of a sudden Julian Nagelsmann was sacked and Thomas Tuchel took over. With him in charge, the team lost to Freiburg in the German Cup and were sitting in the Champions League quarterfinal. However, as we have already mentioned, they still managed to win the league in the end. The player to show the most remarkable improvement was Jamal Musiala, who cost 65 million euros last summer and now is worth 110 million. As for the other Bayern players, Pavard has added 10 million to his market value, Upamecano has added 20 million, while De Ligt, Sané and Coman now cost 5 million more than they used to. Speaking of those who have dropped in price, there's a bunch of them. Sadio Mane, who was worth 70 million euros last summer, is now worth only 25 million. Joshua Kimmich has lost 5 million of his market value, Gnabry 10 million, Goretzka's value has decreased by 20 million, and the market value of Lucas Hernandez has dropped by 5 million euros. So all things considered, the main reason for the club's market value increase was Jamal Musiala. Much more was expected from the new coach, and Tuchel might as well get sacked in the near future, unless he learns from Nagelsmann's mistakes. Bournemouth, from 160,400,000 to 260,200,000 euros, difference 99,800,000. English clubs that get promoted to the Premier price should not surprise you. The payments they get from sponsors and for TV rights allow the Premier League newcomers to make massive spendings, as playing in this league has been a childhood dream for many generations of footballers. So the Cherries brought a bunch of new faces in the team last summer: Neto, Sanesi, Fredericks, Rothwell and Tavernier, and then in winter went on with their transfers and signed Zabarny, Traore, Ouattara and Semenyo. Speaking of the club's performance, the Cherries had a hard time fighting against relegation until very late in the season, but Gary O'Neill, who was appointed manager in November, managed to save Bournemouth from going down. The Cherries finished 15th in the Premier League, thus securing for themselves another year of top-flight football. Obviously, it's mostly the new signings which cost the Cherries 83 million euros in total. That explained the club's market value increase. But apart from that, a number of players have also grown in price. Ouattara, Senesi and Lerma by 5 million euros, Solanke by 4 million euros, Billing, Zabarny and Tavernier by 2 million, and Kelly has added 6 million euros to his market value. We might expect Bournemouth to make more signings this summer as another Premier League season is about to get underway. RC Lens from 127,900,000 to 231,350,000 euros. Difference 103,450,000. Now to the biggest sensation in France, RC Lens, the side that defied all the odds and managed to finish second in the Ligue 1, thus making it in the Champions League group stage. Last summer, RC Lens signed Samba, Le Cardinal, Abdul Samed, Jean Onana, Buxa, and one of the biggest discoveries of this season, Louis Openda. The Blood and Gold were never considered among the favorites. In fact, they looked more like a pretty mediocre mid-table side on paper. In reality, though, Frank Esser's team managed to beat the likes of Marseille, Monaco and Lyon on their way to a top 2 finish, as they had a fantastic 7-game winning streak late in the season, which made it possible. As for the club's leaders, Florian Sotoka scored 7 goals and made 8 assists in Ligue 1, Przemysław Frankowski scored 5 and made 3 assists, and Louis Openda scored as much as 21 goals, as he also provided 3 assists to his teammates. Such performance obviously made the players' market values grow. So Openda, who used to cost 7.5 million euros, is now worth 35 million. The captain Seko Fofana has added 7 million to his value. Kevin Danso and Facunda Medina 11 million. The keeper Bryce Samba's value has increased by 7 million, and Abdul Samad is now worth 12 million more than he used to. Next season, the team will play in the Champions League, which is a great opportunity to earn additional money, sign more quality players, and keep growing in price. Chelsea from 810.5 million to 951,700,000 euros. Difference 141,200,000. Chelsea's results may make you think that the Blues should have been included in another list, the list of the clubs that dropped in price the most. However, all the signings Todd Bowley made resulted in Chelsea's market value increase, despite their outrageous performance. After he bought the club from Roman Abramovich last summer, the new owners signed Wesley Fofana, Kalidou Koulibaly, who's no longer at Chelsea, Marc Cucurella, Carney Chukwuemeka, Raheem Sterling, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. In January, there came more signings: Benoit Badiashile, the record breaker Enzo Fernandez, Mikhailo Mudryk, Noni Madueke, and David Fofana. All these players cost Chelsea 611 million euros in total, more than many smaller clubs have spent throughout their entire history. So how did all these spendings help Chelsea? Back in autumn, Thomas Tuchel, the manager who won the Champions League for Chelsea, was sacked, and Graham Potter took over only to be sacked in April. Then there came the Blues legend Frank Lampard as the team's downfall continued. 1 victory in 11 games in all competitions. In the end, the Blues finished 12th in the league with a -9 goal difference, lost to Real Madrid in the Champions League quarter-final 4-0 on aggregate, got relegated from the League Cup against Man City 2-0, and then lost to City again in the third round of the FA Cup 4-0. After such a season, most of the players naturally dropped in price. Those few who managed to boost their value were Madueke plus 15 million, Kepa plus 8 million, Reece James plus 5 million, and the youngster Lewis Hall, who is now worth 10 million euros. All the rest had to watch their market value decrease. Even the newcomers, Enzo Fernandez and Mudryk, who lost 5 and 10 million euros respectively. Mason Mount, the Man United new signing, is now worth 15 million less, just like Sterling and Fofana. Is there any hope for Chelsea? Well, the new manager, Mauricio Pochettino, has a lot of work to do, while the club is about to bring in even more new faces. A number of players have already left Chelsea. Mateo Kovacic moved to City, Kai Havertz to Arsenal, Loftus-Cheek joined Milan, Kalidou Koulibaly left for Al Hilal, Kanté joined Al Ittihad as a free agent, and Edouard Mendy joined Al Ahly. Apart from them, Mason Mount has just been signed by Man United. Ziyech has failed his medical at Al Nassr. Pulisic may soon join Milan, while the captain Azpilicueta is about to join Atletico Madrid. Hudson-Odoi and Aubameyang are yet to leave the club, but both players are now considering their options. At the same time, the Blues have already signed Christopher Nkunku from RB Leipzig, Nicholas Jackson from Villarreal, and the right-back Malo Gusto from Lyon. Chelsea's transfer business is far from over, so we might expect more of the same from Todd Boehly, who is most likely to keep splashing the cash once he's done with the selling. Newcastle, from 363,600,000 to 527,100,000 euros. Difference 163,500,000. Now to another English club, but with a much more reasonable transfer policy. Eddie Howe, who took over Newcastle back in November 2021, has already managed to achieve a lot without any excessive spendings. First, he saved the Magpies from relegation and led them to a top 4 finish ahead of Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. As for the signings he made, that were Nick Pope, Sven Botman, Matt Targett and Alexander Isak, the 4 summer signings. In winter, another player joined the club, Anthony Gordon, and that was it for the Magpies, as their signings cost them 185 million euros in total, which is definitely not much for a Premier League club. Speaking of Newcastle's results on the pitch, they lost to Liverpool on matchday 5 and then had a 17-game run without a single defeat in the Premier League, which led them straight into the top 4. Throughout the next season, Newcastle United were extremely consistent as they only lost 5 Premier League games, just so you can compare Arsenal, the title contenders, lost 6. Alexander Isak has increased his market value by 20 million euros. Bruno Guimaraes has added 30 million, Sven Botman 10 million, Joelinton 22 million, and Willock is now worth 16 million euros more than he used to cost, not to mention other players that have also grown in price as a result of their solid season at Newcastle. Champions League football may bring more quality players to Newcastle, as the Magpies have already signed the Milan midfielder Sandro Tonali and aren't going to stop there. Napoli, from 454,550,000 to 623,750,000 euros. Difference 169,200,000 euros. Napoli's triumph, the first Serie A title in 23 years, is a prime example of how a club may boost its market value on the pitch without having to make mind-blowing spendings. Napoli's level-headed transfer policy was the creator of the club's success. They signed the right players and then let the head coach Luciano Spalletti do his job. So last summer Napoli signed Kim Min-jae, Leo Ostigal, Matthias Oliveira, Frank Anguissa and Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, as well as a bunch of loanees, Giacomo Raspadori, Tanguy Ndombele and Giovanni Simeone. All in all, 76 million euros were spent on transfers, a ridiculous sum should we compare it to the Premier League club's spendings. Early in the season, Napoli's outstanding football gave us a hint of the things to come. A draw against Lecce on matchday 1 was followed by 13 consecutive wins in all competitions, as only Liverpool managed to stop Spalletti's side. In winter, Napoli were already comfortably ahead of their Serie A rivals, while they also finished first in their Champions League group. They left no chance to Eintracht Frankfurt in the round of 16, but then in April lost to Milan in the quarter-final, 2-1 on aggregate, due to a small dip in form and Osimhen's injury. In Coppa Italia, Napoli suffered a sensational defeat against Cremonese in the round of 16, but the biggest tournament for the Partenopei was of course Serie A, where they finished first with 90 points, 16 points ahead of the nearest pursuer Lazio. As a result, Victor Osimhen, the best Serie A goalscorer, has increased his value by 55 million euros. Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, the discovery of the season, has grown in price by 70 million, Kim Min-jae by 46 million, Stanislav Lobotka by 20 million, and Frank Anguissa by 10 million euros. Apart from them, a number of Napoli players have also increased in market value throughout the season. The head coach Spalletti has already left Napoli as he claimed that he had nothing left to give to the club. The defensive leader Kim Min-jae is about to join Bayern for 55 million euros, while Victor Osimhen may move to either PSG or Chelsea, even though the Napoli president Aurelio De Laurentiis is extremely reluctant to let him go unless there is a very lucrative offer. The new head coach will be the former Roma coach Rudy Garcia, who will surely need a couple of new faces in his squad in order to stay competitive. That is why it will be extremely interesting to watch Napoli do their transfer business this summer. Manchester City, from 1,010 million to 1,190 million euros, difference 180 million. Even before the season went underway, Man City were already considered the Premier League and the Champions League favourites. At the same time, the citizens had quite a background of losing in the Champions League in the most embarrassing way. Just think of that very Real Madrid tie last season, when City seemed to have it in the bag but still let Los Blancos through in the end. This season, Pep Guardiola made a couple of adjustments to his system and retained himself from making unnecessary experiments. The likes of Stefano Ortega, Manuel Akanji, Sergio Gomez, Calvin Phillips and Erling Haaland were signed last summer. The Norwegian was supposed to be the one to win games for City in the Champions League. Another newcomer was the future World Cup winner, Julian Alvarez, brought back from loan at River Plate. All these signings cost Man City 150 million euros in total, which is not much for such a club, as back in the days Pep Guardiola would make bigger spendings on defenders alone. Manchester City were going second in the Premier League until very late in the season, when Arsenal, led by Guardiola's former assistant Mikel Arteta, stumbled and lost the title race. In the FA Cup, they beat their arch-rivals Man United in the final day with the help of İlkay Gündoğan, who came in clutch and scored a brace. 2-1 was the score. But the most anticipated victory of that season was of course the Champions League final, after City had beaten RB Leipzig, Bayern and Real Madrid. Then, in the final, thanks to Romelu Lukaku making his impact for City, Guardiola finally lifted the trophy, thus completing the treble. As you might expect, a number of City players have grown in price since last summer. The team's best goalscorer Erling Haaland is now worth 30 million euros more, Phil Foden 20 million more, Rodri 10 million more, Ruben Dias and Jack Grealish have added 5 million euros to their market values, the World Cup winner Alvarez 27 million euros, Nathan Ake 17 million, John Stones 12 million, and Manuel Akanji's market value has increased by 18 million. At the same time, a number of players have dropped in price, such as Kevin De Bruyne, who lost 15 million because of his age, Ederson, whose value has decreased by 5 million, and Calvin Phillips, whose disappointing performance has already decreased his market value by 18 million euros. This summer, one of the City leaders, Gündoğan, decided to take on a new challenge as he moved to Barcelona as a free agent. Mateo Kovacic from Chelsea was signed as his replacement. Now the citizens have their eyes set on the RB Leipzig defender Joško Gvardiol, as the 120 million transfer fee will make him the most expensive defender in the history of football. What other players will join the club this summer? That is something we're yet to know. By the way, we have already made a video about the most anticipated transfer moves of this summer, so in case you haven't watched it yet, feel free to check it out, as some of the big clubs may surprise you. We'll hope you enjoy it. Real Madrid, from 786.5 million to 975.5 million euros. Difference 189 million euros. The club to open our top 3 is Real Madrid. Los Blancos set the bar high as always, as they pursued all the trophies, but only managed to win one. Last summer was marked with the Mbappé deal falling through, so Real Madrid had to settle for Aurélien Tchouaméni, signed from Monaco for 80 million euros, and the free agent Antonio Rudiger. But apart from that, it was the same team that had won the Champions League a year before, and its squad has grown in value since then, mostly due to young players making improvements. Speaking of Los Blancos results, they lost La Liga to Barcelona, who concentrated on the domestic league this time. At the same time, Real Madrid made it into the knockout stage without any significant troubles, then beat Liverpool and Chelsea, but were no match for Man City in the semi-final. The team still managed to win a consolation trophy. That was Copa del Rey, as they coasted past Barca in a 4-0 victory in the semi-final and then won the final against Osasuna, thus securing the only title for the season. Now to the players' progress. One of the most improved players in the world, Vinicius Jr., has added 50 million to his market value. Valverde has added 30 million euros, Rodrigo 40 million, Tchouaméni's value has increased by 25 million since he joined the club. Camavinga is now worth 30 million more than he used to. Militao 10 million more, and so on. So it's safe to say that it's been another productive season for the Real Madrid young players. The likes of Marco Asensio, Karim Benzema, Mariano Diaz and Eden Hazard have already left the club. It's hard to imagine Real Madrid without their attacking leader Benzema, so now Los Blancos are actively looking for his replacement. That might be none other than Kylian Mbappé, while they have already signed Joselu, Fran Garcia and Jude Bellingham. And what do you think of Mbappé and his possible move to Madrid? Can he become a proper replacement for Benzema? Let us know in the comments. Brighton from 235,700,000 to 458,800,000 euros. Difference 223,100,000 euros. Back in the days, when Graham Potter was still in charge, Brighton were already making noticeable progress. They finished 9th in the 21-22 season, which was a success for the side more used to fighting against relegation. Last season, Graham Potter left for Chelsea, and the one to take over Brighton was the young Italian Roberto De Zerbi, the former Sassuolo head coach. As for the Seagulls transfers, Marc Cucurella, Yves Bissouma and Neil Maupay left the club, while such players as Julio Ancis, Bill Gilmore and Pervis Estupiñán joined Brighton. In winter there came one more, the young talent Facundo Buonanotte. All these transfers cost Brighton 55 million euros, while the club made a profit of 82 million. Roberto De Zerbi stayed true to his vision of football, possession and fast transition. That's what his teams were always renowned for. Despite a rough start, the Seagulls found the momentum after the World Cup break and were striving for a top 4 finish at some point. However, the Zerbi side had to settle for Europa League football eventually, but even that was a historic achievement for the club. As far as the Seagulls footballers are concerned, we have to mention the midfielder Moses Caicedo first of all. He was worth 6 million euros last summer and now costs 75 million as per Transfermarkt. The World Cup winner Alexis McAllister has added 49 million to his market value and moved to Anfield. Leandro Trossard, who is now worth 15 million more, was signed by Arsenal for 24 million euros. Estupiñán has increased his market value by 12 million euros. The discovery of the season, Kaoru Mitoma, by 29.5 million. The young striker Evan Ferguson by 30 million. Adam Webster by 8 million, and a bunch of other Brighton players have also grown in price. The midfield leader Moises Caicedo may be the next player to leave the club, as Chelsea are ready to offer from 100 to 120 million euros for the Ecuadorian. So let's wait for Todd Bowley's next move. In case he goes for Caicedo, Brighton will surely have a decent sum of money to spend. Arsenal from 646.5 million to 1,090 million euros. Difference 362.5 million. Now to number 1 in our today's list. Mikel Arteta has at last turned the Gunners into a formidable force. After they fell short of a top 4 finish in the 21-22 season, they dared to compete for the league title a season later. Few would expect them to challenge Man City, but the Gunners were extremely close to winning the Premier League until the final days of the tournament. Last summer, Arsenal signed 2 ex-citizens, Gabriel Jesus and Alexander Zinchenko, the young prospect Fabio Vieira from Porto, and brought William Saliba back from loan. In winter, they came more signings, Jakub Kiwior, Leandro Trossard and Jorginho. The Gunners' total spendings were 192 million euros, quite a reasonable sum should we consider Arsenal's top 4 ambitions. So which players have impressed us the most? First of all, Bukayo Saka, who scored 15 goals and made 11 assists in all competitions, thus making his market value grow by 55 million euros. The captain Martin Odegaard has also made a big step forward, as his value increased by 45 million. Gabriel Martinelli has added 40 million to his market value. Gabriel Jesus 25 million, William Saliba 35 million, Ben White 15 million, Gabriel Magalhaes and Zinchenko 17 million, and the keeper Ramsdale has increased his market value by 12 million euros. What made it possible was of course Arsenal's Premier League campaign. The Gunners needed just an extra bit of squad depth to lift the trophy. Arsenal have already bought in Kai Havertz from Chelsea, who cost them 70 million, as now they are pursuing Declan Rice and Urian Timber. Should they wrap up these deals, their market value will increase even more, while the quality newcomers will have a chance to make a difference for Arsenal, both in the domestic competitions and in the Champions League. All these teams have grown in price for a number of reasons. Buying and selling players for huge money is just the tip of an iceberg, as it is nothing without smart management, development strategy, scouting, and youth systems. It's all these things combined that bring results to a football team. What we must mention is that though a club's market value increase may attract new sponsors and bring short-lived fame, its true meaning is to reflect the club's consistency and the quality of its management. Though market values don't play football, they still tell a lot about a club's development. Dear friends, please let us know in the comments which one of the teams we've just told you about amazed you the most. See you soon.